Hello friends, Cherie joining you today with a simple little layout. I'll be using bits and pieces that I have left over from the Felicity Jane Summer Kit. So I've got bits and pieces here, just scraps of some of my favourite papers. I've got one of the die cut frames to use, and I've got a selection of the die cuts that I still have left over as well. I've gone ahead and printed out my journaling onto an 8.5 by 11 piece of white cardstock. So I just had a bit of a practice on some plain paper with my computer first, just to get that in the right position, because I do already have a design in mind for this page. I'm using one photo today. It's this selfie that my daughter took. It's about 3 by 3 inches, I think. So that's the one I'll be using. I've also got a white tag just out of my stash that I might be using as well on this page. So I'll get started and I'll be back in a moment. Alright, so I've got my pieces of pattern paper which I'm going to position across the page, and I'm going to try not to line them up too perfectly. They're all roughly the same height and all different widths. So I'm just positioning them how I'd like them to look. And I've also got that die cut frame, and my photo will sit on top of that frame. I know you would normally put it behind, but I just like the fact that it'll help to highlight that photo. Just a little bit of black peeking out from above and below. So I'm happy with the position of those patterns now, so I'm just sticking those down. Trying not to be too perfect about it, but sometimes I can't help myself but fiddle. Okay, so that floral can go on as well. Now I was going to stick my die cut frame down too, but I've decided to add some stitching onto that first. So I'll just put that aside and I'll grab my sewing machine out. And what I'm going to do is just add some stitching around the edge of each of those pieces. So I won't make you watch all of the sewing, but you'll see in a moment how that looks. Alright, so that's all done, and I'm just going to run my nails along the edge of all those papers just to rough up those edges. Just adds a bit more texture to the page. There you go, you can see that there. All nice and ruffly. So next I'm going to add some paint splatters, and I'm going to just be careful not to get any big blobs over the top of my journaling. So I'm trying to add some nice tiny little subtle splatters there, with just the odd larger spot here and there. I'll show you how that looks. There we go. Thankfully I managed to miss most of the journaling, so that worked out well. So next my frame can go on, the little die cut frame, and I'm going to position that white tag underneath the top of the frame. So that'll just help to secure that tag into place. I just cut the bottom of the tag off because I didn't need it. You can't see it anyway. And I've added a long bit of twine to the top of that tag. So on goes my photo now, and I've got some foam tape behind that as well as my die cut frame. So I'm going for some nice dimension on this part of the page. Okay. So just deciding what to do next, and I've got this really pretty flare button that I'm going to put underneath the journaling there just to add some red to that part of the page. So I've just got some double-sided tape on the back of that, which I find usually is enough to hold those into place. And I've got some thread which I'm going to wrap around 2 fingers, and that makes a perfect little circle to fit around the edge of that flare button. And there you go. You can see how that looks, and that's just going on underneath my journaling. If you're worried about that thread coming off, you could add a little dot of glue underneath, but I'm not too worried about it. Once it's inside the page protector, it'll stay there totally fine. So now I've got some other little bits that I'd like to add to the page, and I've also got these little oval paper clips which are from last month's Willow kit, the Felicity Jane Willow kit, and they're like a rose gold colour. They're very handy to have in your stash. Okay, so that's going to hold that die cut into place, and I've also got this little pink die cut star to add there too. little foam dot behind that one. Now the flower, I've also got some foam tape underneath, and you'll see that the leaf is sort of stopping it from tucking in underneath there. So I'm just trimming that off, and now it'll pop in under there nicely. Okay, I've also got this journaling strip that I printed out on my computer that says Madison 10.5 years, and I'm going to tuck that under the left hand side of that photo. A little bit fiddly to get that in the right spot, but I do get there in the end. All right. Okay, so now I've got another piece of that red grid paper, and I'm just going to put that across the top of the page. I just felt it needed a little bit more colour up that end, so that should do the trick. So a bit of double-sided tape behind that, and I'll pop that into place. And I'm going to add a little bit of stitching along that as well. So I'll just grab my sewing machine. All right, and all done. So I'll trim those ends off, and now I can play with this lovely long tail of twine. So I really like the look of it just trailing across the top there. So I'm just securing it into place with my tiny attacher. So just some staples up one end, and then where the twine intersects itself, I've also added some staples there. So next my date will go on, and I've decided to put it on the blue striped paper. So I'm going to turn my page sideways to stamp that one on. And then I also decide to add the letter M to the bottom right of that photo. So I grab one of the, I think it's the summer alphabet stickers, and I'll pop one of those on as well. And then that's my page complete. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this page come together, and thank you to all my new subscribers as well. Hello, nice to see you. I'll be back again very soon with another project to share. Bye for now.